Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Okay, I am going to take these two things and try to make a boom for a cell phone cradle. And this would allow me to make a boom to be able to record video with my cell phone. So what we have here is we have a light that I bought, and it's one of those scissor lights. So this will be the boom, and then um, what we'll do is we'll take this tripod, and what we'll do is we're going to cut the top part of the tripod off. Just extend this here. Sorry, tried to do this with one hand. And we're going to take this top part of this tripod off. We're going to cut it here and try to attach this part to the end where the light actually goes, right here. So we're going to see if we can't get that done, and yeah, it should be interesting. If nothing else, I'll ruin a light. I won't cut into the tripod until I know I can get the light apart. So let's see what happens. Okay, so the first part and the hardest part is I got the light separated. I thought that might have been a screw, but it's basically, if you can see here, it's just a piece of plastic and it's split down the middle. So I basically just gnarled it up and pulled it through the end, pulled it through here, and this leaves me this part. So with any luck, that part will fit in there, and I'll be able to meld those two together, and I'll have a boom. So I'm going to go ahead and see about cutting up this this tripod now. Like I said, I bought the tripod specifically for the cradle for the cell phone because it was like, I don't know, 15 bucks or something like that at Walmart, and but it came with the cradle for the cell phone, which I have in the other room. I was trying it on a different tripod and it won't work there, but yeah, so we'll see what happens next. The tripod. So if you look, let's get this situated around here. If you look here, this will not fit in there. So what I'm doing, you can kind of see it here. So I'm cutting these slots, and that's going to allow me to kind of pinch that down and then push it in. And then what I'll do is I'll take some epoxy, some JB Weld or something, and weld it in there. The one thing I am concerned about is if I leave this boom too long. I like the benefit of leaving the boom long because that gives me more reach, but I'm afraid that it might add too much weight by the time I put the phone out here. So I'm a little worried about going ahead and gluing this all in while that's too long, because I don't know if it'll actually support the weight. Last thing I want to do is have this, not be able to hold the weight up. But we do have these little adjusters here, so once I get it in position, I could probably tighten those up and keep it from closing down on me. So I might go ahead and leave it long like that, because the more range that I have, the better off I'll be. So let's go ahead and keep going with that, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I have actually got it in there, but it is not secure. I mean, I can just kind of give it a wiggle and it comes out. So what I think I'm going to do is, it's too late to do it tonight, but I think I'm going to go to the hardware store, see if I can't get a piece of PVC that'll fit on there. If it fits on there, it should fit over the top of that. I'll glue the PVC in place, and then I can slide this in there, hopefully, and that'll give it some strength there. I don't need a very big piece, just basically a PVC coupler, and just put that on there, and hopefully that'll be enough to hold it all in place. If I can't make that happen, then I'll have to come up with something else. I don't think that I want to trust just a little bit of JB Weld in the end of this. See if you, so you can see that that's not very big or very deep. So I don't want to trust just this whole thing to being held on with just some JB Weld. So I'll probably see about getting that piece of PVC tomorrow, and we'll see about finishing this up. Alright, so this is how I'm going to be able to record and see what I'm recording. So this looks a little bit weird, but basically I've got a monitor here, and you can see we've got the HDMI connected to it, and then you can't quite see it, but see if I can pull this. Probably can't pull the cord in far enough. I have this adapter. I'll show you the adapter later, but basically I have an adapter, so anything that I point my camera at will be getting recorded. So yeah, so I just have to make sure I get this figured out how that's going to be, so you'll be able to see, or I'll be able to see what I'm recording when I'm recording it, when I have this on the boom. So this is just a trial to make sure that this all works. It looks pretty funny, and a lot of feedback going on the monitor there. So yeah, I think that'll be it. So this is the adapter that I mentioned before. So it's got a USB-C on one end to an HDMI on the other, and this will allow me to connect my phone to the monitor, so that way I can actually see what I'm recording. So this will allow me to be able to do stuff with my hands while I'm recording if I need to, or make sure that whatever I'm recording is in the shot. So yeah, just getting it all put together, proof of concept and all that kind of stuff, and tomorrow I will do whatever I need to get these two attached, and we'll have a mount for the cell phone. Okay, so I've got this cut. What I did was I just kind of stuck the bolt up to the side there, and you can kind of see the lines I drew on there to kind of give me a guide of where to stop. And so here's the bolt. So it will fit inside there, obviously, because I peeled it back a little bit. So what I need to do, and I've opened it up because of the fact that I need to be able to get some JB Weld in there, and so I feel like having it opened up is going to help me with that. So there's my JB Weld. I'm going to just mix it up on this plate here, and I had to go get a different hacksaw. So the only one that I have in the house is this one. As you can tell, it would not allow me to cut all the way down. If you try to cut from this end here, it's not supported, and it just kind of gets really flimsy. It doesn't cut very well, so I had to go to my dad's and borrow his big hacksaw. And what I found, because this is such thin walled, it's really hard to cut. So what I found was it was actually easier to hold the saw in one hand like this, and then hold this piece in the other hand and actually move it back and forth across the blade instead of moving the blade. And that seemed to be a lot easier for me. I had a bit more control, and mostly because if I tried to use the blade while holding this kept kind of swishing back and forth as the blade would try to go through, and I couldn't really hold it steady enough. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and mix up some JB Weld and see if I can't get it, enough of it in there. I grabbed a couple spoons to kind of help get it in there, and I'm going to put some in. And these are about where I want the bolts to be, I think. I want one farther back and one closer to the front. And then also, originally I was going to attach it to the other plastic piece that actually goes on here. But that plastic piece, I feel like it'll be easier to get this attached here into this without that plastic piece on, and I don't think it's going to be that difficult to put that plastic piece on. So ideally I'd have the nuts JB welded in place, and then that way the bolt could go in and out, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I think the JB Weld is going to attached to the bolt and everything. So we'll see how that goes as I get there. So, all right, let's go ahead and make this happen, and I'll come back when I've made some progress. Real quick before I mix this up. So those that have never used JB Weld, basically it's an epoxy type thing, and supposedly you can replace steel with it. I don't know about that, but basically it's an epoxy. It's a two-part thing. So essentially you just want to have pretty much equal parts base, which is the white part, and hardener, which is the black part. So I think that's what it is. Oh, this is the steel part, and that's the hardener. So the white part's the hardener, the black part's the steel part. So maybe I'll put a little bit more black part because it looks like there's more hardener. So yeah, let's. Okay, so I've got the JB Weld in there. It's kind of messy, but I used the zip ties to hold it together, and I took my pliers and kind of squeezed it around it to make sure. You can see some of the JB Weld is kind of oozing out. And what I'll do when this is done, I'm going to let this sit up for quite a while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some JB Weld and try to force it down in all those cracks. I'll take the zip ties off and try to force it down inside all of those cracks and everything. And that'll help give it a bit more strength. And I'm going to see if I've got any larger, what do you call it, shrink wrap. I'm going to see if I've got any larger shrink wrap that'll fit over the top of that, just to kind of neaten it up a little bit so it's not going to be quite so ugly. Not that anybody else is going to see it other than myself, but, you know, why not? We'll come back when this is dried up and we move on to the next step. Okay, so here's what we got. I have a syringe, and what I'll do is I'll pull this plunger out, load this syringe up with more JB Weld, and I drilled 2 holes in here. You can see it's pretty much set up. It's been a couple hours, so I drilled 2 holes. So I'm going to put I'll put the end of the syringe in here and here, fill that up, and then also on this end I kind of pried that end back, and I'm going to fill that end up with JB Weld. And then for this, I stuck a screw head in here just so the JB Weld doesn't go through the back, because this part here needs to be able to tighten up when it's on the boom, and I don't want to prevent that from doing that. I mean, it's that way you can still swivel and stuff, but you need to be able to tighten it up so it doesn't, like, you know, fall or whatever. So I'm going to just use this screw head to stop the JB Weld from filling up this space here so it won't tighten. And I'll remove the screw after it's been in there for a little bit. And yeah, so then after this gets filled up, I probably won't fill it all the way up, but then I'll just press that onto there, and it'll end up looking something like this. I can do this with one hand. Let's see here. Be a lot easier without that screw in there. Looks something like that. On there a little bit more farther though. But there you have it. So I'm going to mix up some JB Weld and make that happen, and we'll let it set up and see how well it works. See you when I'm all done. Okay, look at that mess. So I really don't care about the screw, that's fine. You can see this thing is quite the mess. It didn't come out very clean, but hopefully it'll be effective. There's where the holes were, and those areas were filled up pretty well. You probably can't see. I did a pretty decent job controlling how much went through there after I pulled the screw out. I got a lot on my hands, and this is actually clean. Trying to use this syringe, first of all, this orange part, what used to be orange, screws onto the main part, and by the time I got all that in there, it was hard to screw in there. And so smart thing would have been to wear, you know, some sort of rubber gloves, and that would save myself a lot of effort. But this actually started setting up, and I couldn't get the last little bit out, and I was working as fast as I could. I mean, it took me less than, like, say 2 minutes to do all this, maybe 2.5 minutes at the most. And yeah, that setup, I couldn't get the rest of it out. I was gonna smear it around and go over all of the things, the areas where I cut. So like I was gonna like cover up those cut spots, so that way you know they'd be sealed up and all that kind of stuff. Help maybe give it a little bit more strength or whatever. But hey, what are you gonna do? So we'll let this sit up and see how it turns out in the morning. So all right, later. Okay, so I now have it set up. The only thing I don't have my monitor in place, but the camera is hopefully in a good spot. We'll see how that works here in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'll use this as my first trial run, and I will actually get a picture of this setup to put in right here.
He really grows on you, doesn't he?
And yeah, and then what I'll do is I'll get my I'll get it set up with the monitor, and we'll see how that works out for me, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right, let's get that picture taken and get the monitor set up. Okay, so I can sit here and watch myself while I'm working. The only problem is that while I'm looking at this, because I'm doing the width this way, the monitor actually has it upright. So my right side, this side here, is at the top of the screen, and my left side is at the bottom of the screen. So it's a little bit disorientating, but it's something that I can definitely get used to. The important thing is that I can see myself do things. Another thing that's a little bit weird is that there's a slight delay in things. Yeah, so yeah, there's a second or two delay. Maybe not even a second or two, half a second to a second, something like that. So that's something I can get used to as well. But the important thing is that while I'm working on things, I can definitely see what I'm doing, and I can kind of come down for closer shots and really zoom in and bring things up so you can see. Look at all the hair on my knuckles. So you can see everything up close and personal. So duct tape. Yes, brand duct tape. All right, so I've made myself a cheap camera boom. Honestly, I don't know how much a camera boom similar to this may cost, specifically for a cell phone. All said and done, this was probably about $45. So what I should probably do is see how much a camera boom similar to this, if possible, how much it would cost, and go from there. Also, that money doesn't include the adapter to hook into the monitor. Already had the monitor, already had the HDMI cable, just need the USB-C to HDMI adapter, which was like another 15-20 bucks. So, and that was at my local Walmart. So I probably could have got it cheaper online, but I wanted instant gratification. So hopefully you guys like this little project. I know you didn't get to see every step, but I tried to give you updates as I was going through things. And so hopefully those updates were enough to entertain you and maybe spark your interest in doing something if you ever wanted to do something similar to this. So I like the fact that this arm I can just lift up and it gives me a nice wide angle shot. And so that's kind of nice too. So one of the important things is I'll have to maybe get something to mark out where the camera's at on the table, so that way I can see, I know where my hands need to be and that kind of stuff. But you know, I can kind of move it in, move it out, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I'll probably get something marked down on the table so I know this is my workspace and I need to do stuff in that space. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
That's enough for the moment. His time will come